This is the new American media.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are joined with Blake, the eccentric Wally. Blake, I want to get to this clip real quick. You alerted us to it, and this is, well, I don't know. Is this going to speak for itself? How do you set this one up about this this police state video that I'm about to play?
Well, there was looks like a town hall meeting up in, let's see, this was at Concord City in New Hampshire, and yeah, people are getting concerned about the growing police state. Department of Homeland Security getting all kinds of ammunition and equipment, and there were some signs that people were running around with, because it was about a $240,000 grant, I believe, from the Department of Homeland Security to get more equipment into this city here. And the people were concerned, went to the town hall. They were carrying signs that said, "More Mayberry and less Fallujah," when a Marine Corps colonel who actually was stationed in Fallujah had a little warning for everybody.
Here, let's play that real quick.
Pete Martino from Epsom. Thank you. You don't need this. You really don't. I was a colonel. I'm a retired colonel in the Marine Corps. I saw a sign back there that said, "We want more Mayberry and less Fallujah." And I spent a year in Fallujah. And you know what? When I first got there, I didn't have armored Humvees, and I traveled over 10,000 miles over there. And sometimes you got to deal with and go with what you have. And so that's part of the job, for one. The second thing is, though, when I was in Iraq, I was in charge. I was the Ministry of Defense coordinator. My job was to man, train, and equip the Iraqi army in Al-Anbar, Najaf, Karbala, and northern Libya provinces. And I can tell you right now, well, somebody had the great idea to get rid of the Iraqi army, so when we rebuilt it, we did everything we could to make it as strong as possible. And I'll tell you right now, Homeland Security would kick their butts in a week. What's happening here is we're building a domestic military because it's unlawful or unconstitutional to use American troops on American soil. So what we're doing is we're building a military. My best friend, who's a SWAT officer in Nashua, who came to Iraq with me to train the Iraqi police, sent me an email with a picture of him in the media on the streets of Watertown, Mass, wearing the exact same combat gear that we had in Iraq, only it was a different color. And the way we do things in the military is called task organization. You take a command and then you attach units to it in order to accomplish the mission. What's happening is Homeland Security is pre-staging gear, equipment, consistent. What they're trying to do is use standardized vehicles.
Oh, hold on. That is really important. That I want to replay that just 1 second there, because they're building the unit, and then I just want, in his words again, because this is really important. If they're arming all these little subdivisions all across America, what are they planning for? What are they getting ready for? And he's about to tell you.
Only it was a different color. And the way we do things in the military is called task organization. You take a command and then you attach units to it in order to accomplish the mission. What's happening is Homeland Security is pre-staging gear, equipment, consistent. What they're trying to do is use standardized vehicles, standardized equipment. I saw a picture in the Boston Globe during the marathon bombing where there was a state police officer. Actually, there were two officers. They both had identical helmets, flak jackets, weapons, everything I wore in Iraq, only it was all blue. The officer on one side had a big patch on his back that said Massachusetts State Police. Another officer next to him, his patch said Boston Police. And so what we're doing here, and let's not kid about it, we're building a domestic army and we're shrinking the military because the government is afraid of its own citizens. The last time more than 10 terrorists were in the same place at one time was September 11th, and all these vehicles in the world wouldn't have prevented it, nor would it have helped anybody. So I don't know where we're going to use this many vehicles and this many troops. Concord is just one little cog in the wheel. We're building an army over here, and I can't believe that people aren't seeing it. Is everybody blind? That's all I'll say.
So people obviously liked what this guy had to say. I'm just going to rewind it 2 minutes 48 seconds in, because that part was pretty relevant. Let's hear it one more time.
Terrorists were in the same place at one time was September 11th, and all these vehicles in the world wouldn't have prevented it, nor would it have helped anybody. So I don't know where we're going to use this many vehicles and this many.
Sorry.
About it. We're building a domestic army and we're shrinking the military because the government is afraid of its own citizens.
We're building a domestic army. Hang on. just in his
It's funny.
way.
I just highlighted that out because that was in the article.
Yeah, that's what I want to play it one more time. I screwed up the timing.
Massachusetts State Police. Another officer next to him, his patch said Boston Police. And so what we're doing here, and let's not kid about it, we're building a domestic army and we're shrinking the military because the government is afraid of its own citizens. The last time more than 10 terrorists...
Okay. We're building a domestic army and shrinking the military because the government is afraid of its own citizens. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, very haunting because a lot of people are, talking about, can't have military because it's posse comitatus. Then we're watching Department of Homeland Security pop up. We're watching the police get federalized, and so and you're watching. He's making a reference to Watertown, where the Boston bombings, and how the police they just basically declared martial law, and they had all these kind of scary-looking military vehicles and a bunch of armed, military going through the streets, intimidating everybody. And so, it's sort of it's time for people to wake up. Why is the Department of Homeland Security buying all these weapons and vehicles and 2 billion rounds of ammo? People they say Washington's afraid of the people rising up. We're getting sick. We've talked about a redress of grievances. People are fed up with the corruption, and they're about ready to start, marching on Washington and start changing things. Their media is falling apart. They can't control the narrative anymore. And so I guess this is maybe their last thing they can do is to try to, take everybody's guns. We had this, the fight on the Second Amendment, and to create a police state. That way people would never be able to rise up against them, and then they can control the media, and then that's basically the only way that they can get away with all of the problems that they've created and ruined our good name with bad foreign policy. I could go on and on and on.
Well, let's roll into that. And can we roll in something with Egypt, with Rand Paul, the Muslim Brotherhood? Because we're talking about Fallujah, we're talking about Watertown, we're talking about domestic terrorism, we're talking about all of the conflicts that we're in across the globe. That's what this resident is speaking about. That we're in his phrase, we are building a domestic army and shrinking our own military because the government is afraid of its citizens. Yet we're all over the place arming people. Who knows what happened? What Benghazi was? They said that they were running guns through. Out of Syria, or out of Benghazi through Turkey into Syria to arm the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood were recently taken down on July 3rd by a military coup, but they're not calling it a coup. And the president is clearly in support of the Muslim Brotherhood for some reason. Let's connect these all together, because I know this is a huge story this week, and it's just getting worse over there. Hundreds and hundreds are getting slaughtered, and I don't really see this playing out very well. Can you give us an update with Egypt and Rand Paul and the Brotherhood?
I'm sorry, Brian. I tossed the Rand Paul article. I don't know if we were going to have time to cover that, but he is basically criticizing Congress for giving money and foreign aid, continuing that, especially in light of we're not supposed to give money to a country if they've had a military coup. But there is a problem with the Muslim Brotherhood. Don't seem to play very well with other people. And it's right in the name. I mean, it's Muslim Brotherhood. The violence that they're creating against Christians or anybody that doesn't subscribe to their very extremist philosophy, and we're watching just incredible violence play out. So
Christian churches are being burned down. Christians are being targeted and killed. It's getting really bad, and it's just trying to figure out why we're supporting. Not we, you and me, but why the U.S. is supporting the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt.
Including Libya, including Syria. They're just violent, radical jihadists that are Al-Qaeda affiliated. So, people are just questioning our foreign policy. There was an interesting article as well. There's a lot of good stuff on the Drudge Report right now, and our foreign policy is in tatters. That was out of the BBC. So we've got a lot of issues, and Egypt is fighting right now, and unfortunately. So, you can only imagine, it's kind of tie this into, what would happen if, America, what if we had the Baptist Brotherhood take over? And I was making a reference the other day towards the Westboro, Baptist Church. What if those were our leaders? And one of the problems with Morsi is he was unable to seem to take any criticism, locking up reporters. I mean, if you could imagine if we had a radical religious sect in our country, You know, would we be able to criticize them if the Westboro Baptist Church was in charge of the media and in charge of the government? Would we be able to get on our show and criticize them, Brian? I mean,
that's why I'm standing up now, because I'm not a trade unionist, I'm not a communist, I'm not all the things that people are coming for, but I know that if we don't do this now, we're not going to have a chance to later. But I will say this, on a positive note, at least we have just a valiant, brave commander-in-chief in charge that, I mean, for example, during the bin Laden raid, I mean, just hands-on, really hands-on, directing everything like a master surgeon, making sure that operation worked out well. So
that's his legacy, Brian.
His legacy, indeed, and that's why because Detroit is bankrupt and no, Detroit is saved and bin Laden's anyway, whatever. That's really funny in retrospect. Let's do this. Let's pause. I just want to hear this Reggie Love story. We're going to split it up. You're listening to Blake the Eccentric Walley. Check him out on Freedomizer Radio. You can do that by subscribing to his podcast, Eccentric Perspective. Follow him on Twitter at Eccentric99. And check out his homepage, eccentricperspective.com. My name's Brian Engelman. This is Agree to Disagree. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about what was President Obama really doing during the Osama bin Laden raid, if it actually occurred. Did you just say that? Yeah, I just said that because I think that's what Blake has said before. I'm kind of prepping you. I'm prepping you, everybody. We'll be right back on the other side. This is the TNAM Radio Network.
You are listening to the New American Media.